Hey guys, what's up? My name is Nam, and today we're going to be talking about why trade chat and trading sucks. I'll be discussing several factors that make trading much more difficult than it should be. I'll be talking about the history of trading in Warframe, the concept of plat sinks and their effect, the negative effects of plat hoarding, the online marketplaces like Warframe Market, and the recent COVID-19 crisis and its effect. So let's get right into it, guys. To start this video, I want to take you back to 2013, update number 11. Warframe releases a new system, and this system is Trading 1.0. This is the first time Warframe players were allowed to trade, and they were allowed to trade primed Warframes. You see right here, 2013, we had already had a couple of primes that you could sell, excluding, of course, Excalibur. Later on, we would see that there was a prime vault. A vault was important to trade chat. Every time a frame got vaulted, it was no longer accessible to be farmed. So when Frost Prime got vaulted, it started an age of the Prime. Prime became the anchor of the market. If you wanted to sell something for a large amount of plat, it was Prime. There was very little else competing with it other than a couple of rare mods. However, in 2016, we saw a major change to the market, our first big change. And that was in 2016, Warframe released Rivet mods in the War Within update. Rivet mods were at first put into the game because they wanted to balance weapons and give players an ability to get mods that were specialized for certain types of builds. Of course, we know this has not turned out exactly perfect, but they had gone into this update with high hopes. Now, this is important because, as we know in today's market, the Rivet is everything. You can still sell Prime, of course. However, Rivets control most of the market. Now, for those of you unfamiliar with the Rivet mod is a specialized Rivet that can only go on certain weapons. For instance, in this photo, you can see it's Grakata, and it has several different stats. Rivets have special properties that are unique to these types of mods. For instance, they are very difficult to get. You could only get them in special missions, alerts, sorties, and the like. This meant that they were much more easier to control. Unlike Prime, where you could farm an unlimited amount of Prime, depending on how much work you put into the game, you could only get a certain amount of Rivets per day or per week. Another special property for Rivets is that they are controlled by depositions. These depositions controlled how large or small the stats could get. And for a lot of you, you can already see where I'm going with this, because a deposition can make something very, very strong or very, very weak. And we'll get to that a little later in the video. Now, when they released Rivets, they essentially replaced the Prime as the anchor for the market. As a lot of players today have noticed, the Rivet has taken over most of the market sales. They have not completely taken over, as Prime will always have a place in the market, but Rivets have taken a very large control. Next, I want to get into the driving force of the trade chat, which is plat. Now, one thing that has not changed very much over time is the price for plat. As you can see here, these are the current prices for today's market, and as I found on one of the forum posts dated on 2016, you can see that they have wrote out the exact amount it cost back in 2016. So I have proof that at least since 2016, they have not changed their prices. If anybody is from before 2016 and can show me any sort of proof that this is continued, that this has gone back to 2013, this would definitely help. But this is very important because the price has not changed while so much of Warframe has changed. This is also true for the PSN side of things since the 2016 release of Warframe on the PS4 market. As you can see here, however, they have added quite a few amounts of packs. However, the plat has stayed generally the same throughout this entire process. You'll also notice it's a little bit different than the PC side of things. This is very important because while Warframe puts out more updates, they put more content out. More content leads to our next topic, the plat sync. Now, to help me explain what a plat sync is, I'm going to have to more or less show you it in Warframe. Now, this is what we call a plat sync, or a game currency sync of some kind. You essentially spend in-game currency, which is plat for Warframe, which you'll send in to buy items. Now, when you buy these items, the plat doesn't go anywhere. It doesn't go to a person. It doesn't go to an organization. It just disappears. This is essentially a sinkhole. All the plat used in the market will go nowhere. This is very important because, as I stated earlier, the plat per dollar has not changed since 2016. However, the market, on the other hand, has. Now, this is a PS4 account that I'm showing you on, but you can see here that we've had several new frames, several new skins, and several new items in the store. This leads to more and more options to buy, but it also leads to an increased amount of plat you'd have to spend to get nearly the amount of things you used to get back in maybe 2014. This is essentially a never-ending pit. You have to spend more plat to get all the new items that come out. Now, another form of a plat sinkhole is the players themselves. Players farm up tons of free items to sell to other players, but not all of them then spend this plat. This plat effectively stays in their accounts forever, similar to how the market works. This plat hoarding then leads to rivet prices exploding as rich players look for RNG favorable stats on their rivets. Remember the rivets depositions I mentioned earlier? Well, now they're causing certain rivets to be vastly more desirable than others, resulting in more plat falling into player-created plat sinkholes. This just creates more issues for the community as a whole. However, I also need to mention another version of this. Essentially, when a player quits Warframe, the plat in their account doesn't go anywhere. It's just simply there. This is another form of a plat sinkhole. So this makes 3 in total so far. And then lastly, we also have the rivet sellers. This is essentially one of many sites for rivet mods where you can see the price of a rivet. However, unlike Prime, which has a set drop chance, set parts, set bonuses, and improvements, rivets are completely RNG. Every single rivet is a little bit different from the polarity, the MR limit, and the stats. Even the percentages of the stats can change. This causes it to be almost impossible to price a rivet based on other sales. Since every rivet is technically unique, every rivet should have a unique price. However, we are unable to do that due to the nature of the game. One big improvement for Warframe would be taking out some of the stats, maybe making the ranges a little less large, balancing the weapons, balancing the deposition to be more fair to a rivet or fair to a weapon instead of just based on popularity. But this causes a very hard to price check item, and that leads to even more desperation selling. Now you're selling certain rivets for even less than they're worth or even more than they're worth, trying to get every drop of plat out of another person. This can lead to a lot of disagreements on what a price of rivet should be, leads to some toxicity, leads to people ignoring each other. It's just a generally bad thing, and it leads to a bad experience on trade chat. Now I want to talk about something a little more recent, which is the coronavirus outbreak. This has caused two things on Warframe, which is very bad for people just as a whole, but you see less people buying plat due to the financial hardships, the spike in unemployment. This is the American unemployment, but this is just across the board. It went very high for most countries. And you also have people playing the game more. Since players are playing the game more because they have time because of quarantine, it leads to more items in the market. People are farming more than ever. These two factors led to the worst thing you can see in just game economics ever. You had very little plat in the market, but you had even more items. Your supply of plat was too low and the demand was too high. This led to a 2 months of very bad trading, where players were even more desperate than they normally were. To wrap up this video, trade chat sucks because of the underlying issues with Warframe's plat model. Plat sinks cause dry markets, which cause desperate players, and it ruins the experience as a whole for everyone. None of this is very healthy for the community. And my suggestion to fix this problem would be, first, create an in-game market for selling and buying. This wouldn't be essentially a trade chat, it would just be a market where you can go to buy and sell. Essentially think a stronger version of Maru's Bazaar. The second thing, and this is a very important part, is increase the plat you gain from purchasing normal packs. This would essentially allow plat to match the plat sinkholes so they can keep up. It's important because we see these large spikes in plat entering the market when Prime comes out or when a plat sale comes, but we see very little come in when there isn't a special event. Increasing the plat you gain from the normal pack would flatten this out and cause less ups and downs for the players as a whole. More consistency, more consistent market, a better experience. Both of these would help for the problems we discussed in the video. Essentially, trade chat isn't per se the issue, and it doesn't inherently suck, but the underlying causes of low plat, dry seasons and things like that cause it to be very, very toxic compared to the rest of Warframe, especially considering other chats. Of course, the current economic turmoil that we're facing today due to the coronavirus does make this a little more noticeable and a little more extreme than we normally would see, but it kind of highlights all of the issues that we have with the plat market. If the plat being purchased dries up, it causes a domino effect and more plat goes into the plat sink and nothing's there to replace it. Now let me know what you think in the comments, and if I missed any important parts about why the trade chat sucks. I deliberately did not talk about the player aspect. Just, players are very unpredictable and uncontrollable, and I'm talking more about the people side of things. Some people are just inherently toxic. Some people are going to try to scam. I just wanted to focus on the facts and what Warframe can control. Hey guys, just wanted to thank everybody who made it this far in the video. This was my first major YouTube project for me, and I appreciate any feedback relating to this work. If you have that feedback, I'll put the Discord link below. You can just join the Discord, let me know. We can also just talk about Warframe in general. Please make sure to leave a like on the video if you agree with me, and share it with your friends, as it'll greatly help. I also stream on Twitch 6 days a week, once on PC and 5 times on PS4. I hope to see you there.
Boom.